So, hey, hi, hello, thank you for coming. My name's Paul, and hello, I've got a problem. It's not that I'm English, or a bit short, or according to my flatmate, a bit overweight these days. No, these are not my problems. I have many problems, but I want to talk to you about one problem in specific, and that's that I keep on falling in love with men who don't exist. Yikes! I don't know if you've ever done that, like fallen in love with someone that doesn't exist. But if you have, you may get the feeling after a while, it's quite unusual, you get that feeling that, well, you wonder if you exist or not. Let me explain. I first fell in love with my parents. It seems like an obvious place to start, doesn't it? It's Basic Survival 101. At least I know that they exist, although one of them doesn't anymore. Meet my father, Derek Graham Woodward, taciturn sales engineer from Dagenham, and president of Rains Park Rugby Club. My favourite picture of him is of him, aged 30. He's reaching out a flying leap for a rugby ball just out of frame of the photograph. My handsome, gravity-defying hunk of a dad. When I was born, our family doctor, Dr. Morgan, turned around to Mum and Dad and said, "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Woodward, you've got another fine rugby player there." Oh, so there you go. My role in life was pretty much cast from an early age. Meet my mum, Pamela Margaret Carson, famous ballroom dancer, seeded top 12 in Europe in her heyday. When I was young, me and my sister, we used to sneak into her bedroom, open her closet, and there would be her ballroom gowns. Yeah, who could resist? We'd take them out of the cellophane, like really carefully. And then my sister always chose the pink one to put me in, with loads and loads of taffeta, and then she'd spin me around and around and around, and the taffeta would fly up like it was a big, fluffy, pink helicopter. What did I know at this time? I knew that Dad loves rugby and beer and work. I don't know if he loves me. I know that she loved me and that she loved him and she loved dancing. I say loved because she gave it all up. When my dad got jealous of her dancing partners and gave her the stunning ultimatum, "It's your dancing or me, love." And so she placed her tiny hand in his, for better or for worse. She gave up her art for love. These are the great themes of our family: fear, failure, and flying. I can remember, I was around about 5 when I first heard the myth of Icarus. I was sat in Burhill Primary School in Hersham, Surrey, and Mrs. Norfolk was sitting the whole class on the storytelling carpet, and I heard this strange, sad tale of Icarus, the son of genius inventor Daedalus, who, imprisoned on the island of Crete, gathered together feathers and wax to make wings to escape their prison. I love this story. I identified with it so much. So when Icarus soared, I soared in my heart. And then when Icarus, despite his father's warnings, flew too close to the sun and his wings melted like M&Ms in your mouth, yikes! I was terrified. Why? Well, I don't really do what he tells me to, basically. And if I had wings, I'd want to fly as high as I could to escape this lethal dynamic. So maybe I'm Icarus. And Dad, Derek, he's Daedalus. But how do I bring all of these worlds together so I can tell my story tonight? The celebrated anthropologist Joseph Campbell studied all the myths of the world, and he located 12 devices, plot devices if you like, the 12 stages of the hero's journey.
Act 1, ordinary world. Stage 1, ordinary world.
So in many myths, we first meet our hero in his safe space, his ordinary world.
Before their big adventure, Daedalus and Icarus are happily hanging out in King Minos' court.
Sure, Daedalus occasionally has to do unsavoury things.
Like build an inescapable maze called the Labyrinth so that King Minos can feed innocent people to the half-man, half-bull inside of it called the Minotaur.
But overall, life's pretty good.
So, the ordinary world of Woodward, what did it look like? It goes something like this. Traffic lights, stop, wait, it's danger. I'm standing by my mother's side. It's a damp, autumnal Walton-on-Thames Saturday afternoon, and we're together walking in Walton-on-Thames High Street. He holds out his hand. They keep talking about stranger danger at school, right? But they don't say what happens when the stranger's your own father. I'm making a scene. But how can it be safe? How can it be safe to hold the hand of someone to whom I hardly exist? So, I cross my arms and I close my eyes, and I just pretend that he doesn't exist either. And so it goes on, for years and years like this, and years.
Act 1, Stage 2, Call to Adventure.
In which the hero receives a call to adventure, in which his ordinary world is turned upside down.
Daedalus' call is when he helped to free Theseus, a sworn enemy of King Minos, from the labyrinth, to slay the Minotaur with his hero's sword.
Ta-da.
King Minos gets deeply pissed off with Daedalus and imprisons the inventor in the labyrinth.
Not only that, he goes and throws his innocent son Icarus in there as well.
Daedalus loses his freedom and must use his inventing powers to escape. A father and son trapped in a maze together.
When I was 4, I had long, blonde, flowing, curly hair. I loved my golden mane, apparently, and I'd like laugh and giggle when I turned my head and I'd see bouncing light and love and curls at the sides. One day, I was in a pram. A woman stopped my mother and father on Waltzing High Street and said, "Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Woodward, congratulations. You've got a lovely little baby girl there." Yeah, little did she know she was about to change the course of our family forever. I'm sat on a stool in the kitchen at 10 Roberts Close, Waltzing, Surrey. I'm scared and I'm feeling really alone and anxious because Dad's not really spoken since we got back from the shopping centre, and that woman said that thing, and Mum, she's in the corner with my sister and she's keeping my sister just behind. And then Dad, he comes forward and I'm told to sit still. And then he beckons and brandishes, and then he performs the unimaginable. My once blonde light and love and bounce is stuck to my face with all the tears and snot from this suppurating child on the stool. "Please, stop him! Make him stop!" But they don't. I thought they were here to protect me. But they've sided with the bull, with his slick, sharp justice. And then I know, there's something about me that scares him. And Dad's never really frightened of anything. I feel wrong. I feel empty. I'm alone. I'm not good enough. The only way to survive this is to cut them all from my heart. And so, like the locks of my hair, it gets swept away. Swept away. Swept away.
Act 1, Stage 3, Refusal of the Call.
And so, after having his call to adventure, the hero might refuse it, in order to have a cushy life back home.
But Daedalus knows he has no such luxury. He needs to escape from the labyrinth and the island of Crete. He never for 1 minute doubts the call of his instincts to get the hell out of there.
Oh, such grit, such determination. I kind of admire people like Daedalus, at this point, because, I always question myself. I'm always doubting. I'm never feeling quite good enough a lot of the time. I'm a bit of a mess, really. And talking of messes, it's a mess out there, all right. It's the 1980s in London. It's the time of Margaret Thatcher, of skins, punks, of racism and sexism and riots and Clause 28 and the terrible newspaper, the Daily Mail. At this particular time in British history, it's way easier to be in the closet than out. And so, I learned to sport my new haircut. I begin to play rugby to please my dad. I give up the arts subjects in favour of the sciences. I even become a bit of a homophobe. I'm not very nice. I'm a bully. I even torment the family cat. I don't really like myself. But at least I'm hidden. Hidden, scared, and alone. scared that it just might be like this forever, all the time, forever.
Act 1, Stage 4, meeting the mentor.
Meanwhile, in our mythical world, this is the point where the hero might meet his mentor, who will give him something invaluable to get him through his quest.
But Daedalus has no mentor because he's Greece's greatest craftsman. In order to meet the mentor, all he has to do is check in with himself and brainstorm a great idea, which he does.
What about Icarus, though?
Right.
Who did he have as a mentor? The birds in the sky?
See, I think it's really important for gay boys to have mentors, and, I was a big boy with a big secret, but I couldn't tell anyone. And I couldn't really talk to Dad about much because he wasn't present a lot of the time. It's at the rugby club or at work. And so it kind of forced me into alliance with my mum. And because we were stuck on our own for so much of the time, we read books, and she introduced me to worlds of fantasy and mythology, and we imagined a world in which fathers and husbands were, present. But then that's not to say, I was always a goody-goody. I could mess it up with the rest of them. But if I was naughty, then Mum never really wanted to punish me because this strange alliance that we had against Dad. And so, when we've been naughty, like Dad, Derek, he'd come home, he probably wants to watch the TV or read the newspaper. He's intercepted by Mum, who says, "Derek, the kids have been naughty again, and you must punish them, and you're the man of the house." My sister used to accept her punishment like a stoic little martyr, and she would bend over the chair, wipe a tear from her eyes, and she'd put padding down her trousers so she wouldn't get the full force of my father's hand. But me, of course, no, I had to defy him. No, I'm not going to come there. No, I'm not going to take down my pants. No, I'm not going to bend over. And so it was done for me. And even then, I wouldn't submit. I wouldn't give him the pleasure. I had to resist him. I don't know why. And so, what was meant to be just a small tap on my arse, because I fought him, because I resisted, it turned into a full-on battle standoff, and so he got genuinely angry until I had to be excused from games sometimes because the pink welt showed too much on my white arse. Wonder what he was thinking, Well, that's what my father did to me and, didn't do me any harm. Or, I didn't mean to hit him that hard, but he had to struggle, didn't he? And he's such a willful, strange child. I don't think I understand him. Or even, I just don't want to be here. What did I want? I wanted one friend to help me out of this labyrinth of growing up gay in a heterosexual world.
Act 1, Stage 5, crossing the threshold.
And here it is, the moment where the hero crosses the threshold, takes a bold, imaginative leap from the comforts of his ordinary world into the challenges of a special world.
Strapping a pair of wings to his back, Daedalus is the first human to cross the threshold of the sky.
He flies into the open air.
And his wings successfully keep him aloft.
Huzzah!
I'm coming out. Finally. Here are the words. I've kept them in for so long inside, and I can feel them in my body, starting in my stomach, and then they're building up through my chest. They're coming out. Here they are. The words. The threshold beckons. Mum, I think...
You can do it, Paul. You can do it.
I think...
Just one more step over the line and life will never be the same again, but you will be free, Paul.
Mum! I'm gay.
It's done. It's out there. You can breathe, Paul. You can breathe.
My mother says, "But Paul, you can't be a homosexual. You play rugby." Well, I think you can do both, can't you? "But Paul, I danced with homosexuals. Oh, they could be funny, but they're quite bitchy and mean to each other." Well, I have my moments. "But Paul," she says, "if you choose to be a homosexual, you will never find love." I'll never find love. I'm fuck that. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find as much love as I can lay my hands on. And just as I spread my wings and to fly into my brand new spanking gay future, I hear the words issued from my mother's lips as they would every time the subject of my sexuality was raised within my family. But your father will never accept this. That's it. That's the push I needed. Across the threshold. London, 1985. I'm flying.
Act 2, Special World. Stage 6, Tests, Allies, Enemies.
And so the hero finally sets out on his quest. He's going to have many challenges and meet many characters. He just has to find out who he can trust and who he can't.
Daedalus straps a pair of wings on Icarus, and the two of them take off. Father and son, flying strong together.
Daedalus keeps looking over his shoulder to make sure the little guy's doing okay. He's worried about Icarus dampening his wings with seawater or melting them with the heat of the sun.
London, the scene. I've arrived. I'm young, I'm hung, and I'm full of gay cum. I'm like a small town boy in the words of Bronski Beat, and I'm screaming out into the night air, tell me why did I allow the slow, stultifying decay of my soul and my cock back there in Hades upon Thames, when just 35 minutes direct train to lively, luscious, lovely, licentious London. And just within a few months of me hanging out in bars in Earl's Court, lots of Australians there, and Clapham Common, I meet my first big gay mentor, Chris, who I began to be known as Uncle Chris, a big bear of a man. He had a tash, he called himself a clone, which is strange really, because to me he was the most exotic of men that I'd ever met. A bit like the construction worker in Village People, think that, you've got the right idea. Anyway, so we're down the bar, and he sidled up to me and we're just having a pint, and he says, you know what, Paul, actually you really remind me of me when I was a young lad, and I've made many mistakes, I feel like bowing out of the gay scene now, and you know what, it'd be really nice to just, show a young lad like you the whole scene, from top to bottom, so that you can make your own mind up. Would you be up for that? It would take a couple of months. And I'm like, yeah, let me think about that. Hell yes. And so he takes me by the hand and he takes me to the campest, draggiest of places. And then he takes me to the dingiest, dirtiest, sawdust on the floor, leatheriest of places. And I would look completely out of place because I had blonde, spiky, highlighted hair and turquoise tank tops, a bit like Lamar. And anyway, but boys sort of like men, they still came up to me and cruised me, put their hand around me, and Uncle Chris would just push them to one side and say, it's all right, my friend here, he's just looking, he's making up his mind. And I'd be like, Uncle Chris, he was hot. And then one Friday night, down the Cargill Fall in Camden, he turns around to me and he says, well, here we go, Paul. This is the last bar. And I'm like, whoa, really? I just thought it was going to go on and on forever. I didn't realise we'd reached the last one. I kind of thought that there'd be a gay bar on every corner, like there were heterosexual ones. And so he says to me, well, the whole point of this quest is to find out what you want. Do you know what you want? And I say, yeah, I think I do. And he says, well, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I think I want a boyfriend. And then he puts his arm around me. And he says, okay, Paul, you know what you want now. Just go out there. There's going to be a lot of love out there for you. You just need to keep true to what it is that you really want. And then he smiled to me. And then he smiled to himself. And then that smile kind of like faded, as if turning into the underside of his soul, as maybe he remembered his young boy of a self, who flew too close to the sun of love and got his wings burnt or melted a little. The very next day, he took me to my first gay pride march. Why? There's so many of us. And it was there, just crossing over Waterloo Bridge, where I met my first proper boyfriend, Kit Bevan. Think Desperate Dan mixed with Morrissey and you've got a good idea. Wow, I loved him. I'm 17 and I found love at last. And then that ended, and then I met Andy Prentice, he was boyfriend number 2, and then there was William Borberg, 3, and then there was David Gibson, 4. But the main thing, right, is that Mum, hey, she was wrong, I was right. Ka-ching. Yeah, or was I? Because there's something happening at this time in English history. I'm switching on the TV, and I'm seeing icebergs rising out of the water with interesting advice. Don't die of ignorance. Images of graves opening and beckoning. There's a word on the streets, and the word is plague. I lost touch with Uncle Chris after a while. I kind of felt really bad about that because, I was so busy having all these boyfriends and these adventures in love. And then before I knew it, we'd lost touch. And so I started to phone around his friends. No one had heard from him. And then it just slowly dawned on me that, he just didn't make it through, did he? Let's be cautious. Friends, lovers, let us be cautious. There's angels, they're falling from the sky. Their feathers are gathering by our feet.
Act 2, Stage 7. Approach to the inmost cave.
Not Icarus. He's not being cautious. Enjoying his newfound powers of flight, Icarus begins to push the limits of his wings.
Ignoring his father's advice to remain at a sensible height, he flies higher and higher toward the sun.
It's a Saturday night, and I'm a secondary school teacher at this point, and I'm doing what every good secondary school teacher should be doing on a Saturday night. That's right, I'm off my face, I'm at a club, and I'm fucking flying. I'm at Trade, the legendary after-hours club, and just as I become engulfed in one of those big seismic fog banks and the smell of synthetic toffee apples subsides, there he is, a field, a vision in black leather harness. It's Eric Savoy, boyfriend number 7, my sexy French boyfriend. To me, he appears like a dark angel. And that night, he takes me to heaven. Fast forward, 10 years, we become friends. We kind of lasted for about, 1.5 years together. I like to be friends with exes. I've cooked him a dinner in my flat in Fulham. And it's been a bit quiet. And this kind of unnerved me, because Eric's not quiet. Anyway, he takes my hand in his. And I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, yeah, actually you were quite dishy, really. Wonder why we didn't last. I know I loved you. And then he says that although he said he was HIV negative when we were together in love, and he was inside of me, and I was inside of him, and I knew that we were protected by love, he was, in fact, HIV positive all along. The man I thought existed, who I loved, but he just didn't. But I don't get angry because I look at him and I could see that he's suffered enough already all these years holding in this news. It's on his face. And so I take his head in my hands and I press it to my chest as he cries bitter tears of grief and shame. And then part of me flies up to meet him in grief, somewhere other than here.
Act 2, Stage 8. Ordeal.
Icarus's wings melt. There's no protection from the heat of the sun, no factor 50, no billowing parachute, no one to catch him in his fall.
And so he plummets to the sea like a stone from the sky, twisting his body. Caught in velocity, he calls out to his father, his papa, his daddy, his dad! as he falls.
And so, villagers nearby see the strange sight of a boy falling from the sky. Just a small splash as he hits the water, and Icarus drowns.
Daedalus can't make it in time to swoop down and grab his son and fly to safe ground. And so he is left, suspended in mid-air, to contemplate all the failings of fathers and feathers.
He walks into the room with such haste, he makes the warm air around me go cold. He's like tapping a folder against his thigh. He wants it over and done with, this moment. He sits behind his desk and he says the words, "I am sorry, it is positive." These are the words coming from the mouth of my sexy French sexual health counsellor in the Victoria Clinic in Pimlico, London. It's July the 29th, 1999. It's just 2 days before my 33rd birthday. And his words, they're dripping like soft cyanide butter from the silver knife of his diagnosis. And then these words, they've turned my world into a snow globe, which contains my thoughts and feelings, and they've been shaken up, so they're all fragmented and they're swirling around, and I know they're there, but I'm trying to reach them, but I can't even put out my tongue to taste their slow, cold burning. And so I pull my blanket of cold, settled snow around me in the too hot July room. And there it is. My first thought post-diagnosis. It's a thought that haunts me to this day. Well, who's going to love me now? Would you? Would you? Would you? Would you? You? July the 29th, 1999, Victoria Embankment. It's 1 o'clock. The River Thames, tree, concrete pavement. I'm sat there and I'm thinking, wow, I wonder if the test result, if it comes back negative, there's always a chance. I wonder if I'll think about life differently. I wonder if I'll see life differently. July the 29th, 1999, 2 o'clock, Victoria Clinic. It is positive. July the 29th, 1999, it's 3 o'clock. And it's different. The late July sun is hitting the peaks and the troughs of the River Thames, and it's sparkling, sparkling and resplendent like a drag queen's tiara in the sun. And the sun's also hitting like the leaves of the trees, and it's casting these patterns of light and motion and textulated mystery. And it's beautiful. It's a magical mix of motion and colour, and that's when it hits the sadness. But it's not sadness for me now, it's sadness for me then, before the snow globe. Because I realised that I've been taking my life for granted, not really being in the moment. I've been taking my sex for granted, I've been taking my body for granted, I've just been full in my head of who's going to love me, and I must find love, and I must find love, I'm not good enough, and I jump up on the bench. And I say, Paul Woodward, this is the last time you take your life for granted. My life, my snow globe, my perfect storm.
At 2 stage 9, reward, seizing the sword.
And so, in the mythical world, whenever we faced an obstacle or an ordeal as a hero, then apparently there's some kind of reward waiting there, up there for us.
But the only rewards Daedalus get are A, a few of Icarus's feathers floating in the water, and
B, the realisation that great inventions sometimes lead to terrible consequences, and that trying to overcome nature is often a very bad idea.
One of the rewards I got, bequeathed to me as a positive person, was a chance to work in Africa many times. And they were absolutely extraordinary experiences. The first time I was working in the townships just outside of Cape Town for a charity called Mad About Art. This was an extraordinary time. I was working with positive children, and I was doing drama and empowerment workshops, and they were great. They'd dance and they'd sing at the drop of a hat, and then when they found something funny, they wouldn't just like giggle and sort of like tut and stuff. They'd be laughing like deep from within their bellies, and it sounded like laughter, like survival. People kept on asking me, what's the hardest thing about being in Africa? And funny enough, it wasn't seeing poverty, and it wasn't seeing illness or even death. It was actually the time when I'd have to leave the kids in the hut to go out at midday and take my HIV medication. Just one pill. But I knew at this time that some of these kids didn't have access to it. But I did. The weight of responsibility, just because of the colour of my skin or where I was born. That was a bitter pill to swallow, but I did. People say, is it hard to remember to take one pill? And I'm like, no, it's really not. Because I know what it's like without. But I'm doing all this work in Africa, and it's all about empowerment and disclosure. But there's still two people that I've not disclosed to. Mum and Dad back home. And I'm telling myself, well, they're a bit old, would they understand? Or I'm telling myself, well, maybe I should wait, until I'm really, really healthy because my CD4 count is really, really high. And then I said, well, maybe I'll wait because, I'm full of shit, basically. Because I just don't want to tell them and hear that sense of disapproval. Those words, but your father will never accept this, were looming large above my head for most of my adult life, and I don't want to feel the shame. Have I let them down? But then I think of my African friends, and I think of their power and their passion, and I think, fuck it, I'm coming out again of the HIV closet this time. And I'm sat on the floor of 10 Robert Close, walking on Thames Surrey, my back to the fireplace, facing Mum and Dad. And here they are, the words, the building up in my stomach, the rising to my chest. Here come the words, the threshold moment beckons. Mum, Dad, I've got something to tell you.
You can do it, Paul. You can do it.
Mum, Dad, I know it's
Just
been a
one
long
more
time,
step
but
over the line, and life will never be the same again, but you will be free, Paul. You will be free.
I'm HIV positive, Mum, Dad.
It's done. It's out there. You can breathe, Paul. You can breathe.
And my mother says, but Paul, are you sure? Yes, Mum, yeah, I am sure. I've tested positive many times now. But, the good news is that I'm on medication, and I'm what they call viral load undetectable. So, there's just either small traces in my blood or the virus has just gone to sleep, and they can't find it. So, it's all good. And then my father says, oh, well, son, if there's anything that we can do to help, just let us know. And it's a bit of an anticlimax, really. I thought there'd be more of a reaction. And then I say, well, Dad, you're taking this in your stride, And then he says, oh, well, Paul, well, you chose to be gay, didn't you? And there's a lot of it out there, so you being positive, well, a bit of inevitability, really, wasn't it? No, it was. That feeling of disappointment and shame. It's like molten lava on my back, and it's melting. It's melting. And then my mother says, but Paul, can we still kiss you goodnight? And then my father says, oh, for God's sake, Pam, the only way you're going to catch HIV is if your own son fucks you up the arse without a condom and spunks up inside of you. Right? And then that's when the three of us just burst out into laughing, and we're lying there on the floor, all three of us holding our stomachs, and Yeah, laughter at that point really was the sound of survival. And that's when the ordinary world of Woodward turned into something extraordinary. My mum has cancer in remission at this point, the son with HIV, and then one day I receive a phone call. Yeah, Paul, the test results came back, yeah. Yeah, he said, Dad, it's lung cancer. They've given him 3 months to live. But, he doesn't, does he? He goes on for years and years. He's a stubborn old bull, my dad. He has chemotherapy, and his hair falls out, naturally, and he really hates the chemotherapy. But, I noticed, things changing slowly, in him. When I phone home, to speak to them, instead of a cursory hello, then it's handing it over to my mum usually, he's holding on to talk. And, he's saying how he's sick of the chemotherapy and he's given it up and he's decided to go all homeopathic on the cancer's arse. And he's telling me about this internet research. He loves the internet, as dads do. And he's kind of telling me all about these herbs and minerals and all this shit that he would never, be seen dead talking about before. And then he's telling me about the latest cutting-edge HIV research. Interesting. I'm walking my dog, my gorgeous chocolate, rambunctious Labrador, Jackson, talking to Dad. Hey, Dad, how you doing? Yeah, just walking Jackson, on Clapham Common. Clapham Common, you're cruising for dick then, are you, son? And I'm like, no, Dad. Oh, well, if you are, then stop off at the Windmill pub, because that's where the Clapham Common dick cruisers like to wet their whistle. And I'm like, so much for him, not accepting my sexuality. He seems to be revelling in it these days. And then there'd be those long nights where me and him would just have extraordinary conversations. He's saying that he feels that he can talk to me because of my HIV. We can go to places where he can't go with other people. And so I'm sat on the edge of his hospital bed and it's all wired up with tubes and machinery. And we're talking about the slow, gradual decay of the body and the ascension, the soul afterwards to, who knows where. He gets up. And I just notice on his white hospital gown there's a red and brown patch. He's a proud man, my dad. And so I turn away so as to not shame his shame. Another thing that was unusual was that my dad, he was one of those men that kind of leaped from physical contact, as if being electrocuted. He became a right old hugger. So when I'd come home to visit them, he would lever himself off his favourite armchair, and as soon as I got through the door, he would launch himself at me. And this was really unusual, It was like he was trying to make up for all the lost hugs that we'd have, and he'd nudge his sort of beardy chin against my neck, and it would make me giggle, but I wouldn't want to disengage. I just want to hold him. Yeah, it melted me. It melted. And then the most extraordinary thing. After the chemo, his hair grew back. And it grew back as soft, white, curly hair. It was like a small boy. And so I didn't. I just wanted to touch them, because they were so soft, like feathers.
Act 3, Ordinary World, Stage 10, The Road Back.
Daedalus flies on, eventually landing in Sicily. When he gets there, he befriends King Icarus, the ruler of the island. He rejoins court life and begins to lead the kind of life he did as a part of King Minos' court in Crete.
But without his son.
Hey Brian, what is hubris?
It's a concept from ancient Greek culture, of behaving like a god. Not good.
So it's kind of like overstepping your humanly bounds?
Punishable by death.
So this story here of Daedalus and Icarus, it's like a lesson in humility.
Yeah, or of staying within your limits.
But I think Icarus was just taking after his dad when he flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, arrogance, ambition, no foresight.
But he was just searching.
Searching.
Yeah, searching for more.
Yeah, well, that always leads to a mythical fall. What about Paul?
Paul. He was just searching for love, wasn't he?
I'm 39. And Dr. Morgan's prophecy has come true. Only I'm not playing rugby. I am a big rugby ball. And I'm being lifted up. Whoosh! Velocity is giving me an instant facelift as my 6'5" lover, Craig, is having a psychotic episode. He's lifting me, all of my body weight above his head. He's as strong as Tarzan and mad as all fuck. And then I'm flying through the air of my living room as if I myself am made of air and nothingness. Bang! Smash! There goes the picture frames. Smash! There goes the glass. Smash! There goes my faith in love and security. He picks me up again and whoosh! Bam! Go floppy. Go floppy. Again. Whoosh! Bam! Go floppy. Go floppy. And just as the police are cordoning off the road, it's a hostage situation. I'm held here for 4 hours as Craig picks up a glass shard and is threatening to put it into my neck. And is telling me that these are my last few breaths in life. And I can feel the soft skin slowly being pierced by the glass. But it's not that cuts deep, it's the words. It's the words. You are the AIDS scourge of London. You're to blame for everything. You must be stamped out. You're nothing. You're worthless. You're no one. And I just think to myself, fair enough. Because these are just thoughts. The thoughts that I have in my own head. They go round and round again and again all the time. And at this point, I don't want to exist. This has to stop. All this, it has to stop. It has to stop. It has to stop. It has to stop. But I'm 39 and I'm back in love again, this time forever. Because I found a fiancé and we've been together for 5 years. He has to go back to Melbourne, so we're planning for me to emigrate to be with him. And so I've given up my job of 16 years as a senior university lecturer in a university in London. I've said goodbye to my friends and my family and my dear, dear mother. I've even flown out my beloved chocolate Labrador Jackson so he can be there waiting for us, a big family. And I've navigated a blasted, bloody partner visa as a positive person, not easy. And then there I am, I've arrived. I'm in Melbourne Airport. This is it. My new life. And there he is. Fuck! Oh, I've gone and done it again. I've fallen in love with someone that doesn't exist. I knew it from that first cold hug at the airport. It seems that all this time that we've been doing it hard, long distance, he's gone and got himself another lover. He just didn't tell me about it before I flew over. He just omitted to tell me about it. Classic. And so I say to myself, well, you've done it this time, haven't you, Paul? Completely alone. This has to be the last time. This has to be the last time that you allow a man who doesn't exist to break your heart. But even then I know it's not true, because I'm pulled back to 1 year previous to this. I'm in Malawi, again, in Africa. I'm doing some field work, and strange enough, they managed to get a phone call to me. Paul, yeah, it's my sister, your father. You need to fly home. He's fading. Fly home, Paul. Fly home. And then just when I'm above Abu Dhabi, flying on my way to London, the man I fought and loved and fought and loved my whole life long just ceases to exist. And I'd give anything. I would give anything just to go back to that damp autumnal Walton on Thames High Street and hold out my hand to his. But I can't, because he's gone forever.
Act 3, Stage 11, Resurrection.
In the resurrection stage, there is a return home to where the story began.
At this point in the journey, the hero meets with some final struggle that serves to remind him of where he belongs.
Here, the final struggle takes the form of King Minos, who travels to Sicily to find Daedalus.
Fortunately, King Populus' daughters have taken a liking to Daedalus, and so they kill Minos with boiling water.
As you do.
And I'm back in Africa. Again, it's Swaziland this time. And I'm working with an extraordinary charity called Possible Dreams International. And I'm working with a choir of positive children, they're extraordinary. But then one day, one of the choir's father has passed away in the night from AIDS complications. And so, this is what the charity does and the choir does. They turn out to help. We're all of us, the choir and volunteers, we're helping the family prepare the homestead for the funeral. And I'm part of a relay team. I'm digging a grave. And, we're meant to be sort of like tagged every now and again, but I'm shrugging off the people that want to help me because for some reason, I just need to keep on digging. The sun's rising and I can feel it burning my back. But I need to keep on digging. Blisters are forming and bursting, blood running down the shovel. But I dig, and I dig, and I dig, and I dig. And then I realise that I'm in Africa, digging a grave for a father, and it's just 1 year since my own father passed, and I didn't get to say goodbye. Oh, Derek. African funerals start at 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't really get this at first. They're either kind of late morning or afternoon, obviously, in England and Australia. So I wake up and I go at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I join the procession of villagers, and we're making our way through the long, tall swathes of African grass, and they're singing extraordinary songs of hope and faith and redemption, and it's extraordinary. And then we reach the burial clearing, and then I get it. I understand why at that time. Because just as a body is lain in the earth and a father is mourned and remembered, that's when the sun comes up over the horizon and bursts forth its might, and it shows us that we're not burning. We're being shown that life is all around us, everywhere, all around.
Act 3, Stage 12, Return with the Elixir.
And so, at the end of our story, the hero returns back to where he very first started. But he's a changed man.
He will have grown as a person.
And learnt many things.
Faced many terrible dangers, even death.
But now looks forward to the start of a new life.
Right back home to where he started. But things won't ever be the same again.
Daedalus returns a much humbler man. He has learned that attempting feats best reserved for the gods can lead to terrible consequences.
Daedalus even builds a temple to Apollo to show his newfound respect for the gods.
This new humility is Daedalus' elixir. To earn it, he had to go on a great journey and pay a terrible price.
So, it's the night of my father's funeral. It's gone really well. I was particularly pleased with the eulogy that I gave. I think I honoured him, in words and with images. And so, they've all gone, the guests, and it's just me and my mum alone, and we're having a glass of whiskey and an uncharacteristic cigarette. And we're remembering, stories about fathers and husbands. And then she tells me the most extraordinary thing. Apparently, after I came out gay to her, Mum and Dad went on a holiday to the south of France with their best mates, and they'd gone out for a meal and there'd been a lot of wine. She'd gone back to the hotel room, and when she got back, she began gnashing and wailing and pulling her hair. "Oh my God, Paul's gay, Paul's gay, what are we going to do, what are we going to do?" And Dad turns around and says, "Oh, for God's sake, Pam, this is not a Greek tragedy. Can you pull yourself together? Because if you carry on like this, like as if it is a tragedy, then we're going to lose Paul. We're going to push him away. I don't want to lose him. Do you? No. So, this is what we do. We just love him because he's gay. It's different, so he needs more love. Let's just love him, Pam. Let's just love him." And I'm like, now you tell me? Like, seriously? On the night of his funeral? Now you tell me? Like, you're just dependent on the fact that we never communicated much anyway, and it gave you a chance to hide behind the fact that you never accepted this, and now you tell me? But I don't get angry, because I'm too flabbergasted, you know? And then I realise that what I've done, I've spent my whole life in flight.
Flying through cities.
Flying across living rooms.
Flying through hospitals and clinics.
Flying across stages.
Flying to the other side of the world.
Flying.
All for love.
Of men that just didn't exist.
And then I only find out that I had one true love by my side all the time. My own father was my best friend and my secret ally. And I was just too blind to see it. Or too proud. Talk about hubris. And so, I think, well, you know, if Daedalus can build a shrine to his son, then maybe I can build one for Derek. And maybe that shrine, that remembrance, it's me, it's my body. And so if I do good, you know, in Africa or in England or, you know, in Australia, then I do it in my father's name. I even get my skin marked with Derek's heart of a lion king, with Icarus's wings to give him flight, but made of sterner stuff this time. Made of love and integrity. And so, I'm going back in time, and I'm turning round to myself, aged 4, on that damp autumnal Walton-on-Thames High Street, and I'm saying to him, "Don't be scared. Don't be scared, it's just me. And I'm here to tell you that I love you, Paul. And I will love you no matter who you choose to love. And I will love you no matter what your HIV status. I will love you no matter where you choose in the world to live. And because I love you, you will know always that you exist. And you know, because you exist, then I know that I exist. And I exist to all the other me's throughout time and space. To me, age 16, coming out the closet. To me, age 33, coming out the HIV closet. And then there we are, all holding hands through time and space like a chain of paper dolls. Cut from the same piece of paper. Cut from the same tree. From the same planet. From the same universe. And now we're all holding hands and we know that we exist, and then, finally, we can fall in love. We might even be able to fly.